You're right. Yeah, I'll put it over there. So I won't need your phone on this, will I?
No. Thank you all for coming. Sorry about the hold up. Just a few difficulties. Sorted. So my name is Dan Schuster. I'm from Victoria. I'm the State Pathway Coordinator. Great to see so many of you here this evening. We will be live streaming the session as well on Facebook for those that wish to tune in. Hopefully we have a few. I'd like to present Andy Farrow from the VIS. She's our performance lifestyle expert, and she will hopefully teach us all a thing or two on how to become a high performance athlete. So over to you, Andy.
I'm hoping so. So anything that I go through today, you're going to go, that's very logical and not rocket science. So, but what it is making sure that you do all the little things and don't miss anything, and that's how you become a high performance and to reach your potential. So how do I work with athletes? So I discuss with them doing about all the little things that will help them thrive, and I use a model of positive psychology. Has anyone seen the PERMA model before? Some kids at schools might have used it. So that's the model, or that's the approach that we take at the VIS in performance lifestyle to guide our practice when we're working with athletes. And the reason why we do this is because this is evidence-based in positive psychology, and we know that it works, and it ensures that we take a holistic approach to our athletes, and so we don't miss something along the way. Anyone know the VIS motto? Yes?
Excellence.
Well, yes.
Oh,
they're the values, but you can go away.
Success in sport and life.
Yes. So that is why we take this holistic approach, because we believe in that motto is success in sport and life. And the experiences that I've had for over nearly 20 years in high performance sport is very much, if you're working on a dual career and doing things outside of and are a well-rounded individual, you will reach your full potential. So, the P in the PERMA is positive emotions. And I have a handout here which Jen will put online, and if we get time we'll go through it. And it's just a mindset checkup. So the basis of the positive emotions is about having or trying to achieve a growth mindset. Have we heard about growth and fixed mindsets? Yep. So again, stuff that I'm telling you today is not out of the ordinary. You would have heard it before, or you may have heard it before. Now this little assessment tool just gives you an idea of your preferences within your mindset that you currently have today. If I was to ask you in 3 months' time to do that assessment, your results may be different. So it's not a hard and fast, this is your mindset. All it is about discovering more about yourself and how you can improve yourself. How you can do it if you're a coach, have we got coaches and parents? Yeah, is the way that you have a conversation with your athletes and discussing effort as opposed to outcome. And that's what I would encourage. So perception of their effort and also how you can encourage them to give their best efforts. The other aspect of the positive mindset is using gratitude and empathy and mindfulness. Was that yours? Oh, that's very loud. Okay. Resilience project, anyone seen it at school? Have you seen it? You've done everything. You'll love what I'm talking about. Okay, so Hugh Van Coogan, is it? He developed the Resilience project. If you haven't seen him speak, he is awesome, and he talks about some simple tools and values you can use that will help your well-being and help you being a resilient person. The main tenets of that are gratitude, empathy and mindfulness. Again, mindfulness, there's heaps of tools online. One of them is Smiling Minds, which is a really good one. Some people like to meditate and some people don't. If you're not a meditator, then it's finding something that enables you to get your mind to slow down. Okay, and out of your own head, I call it. What's that noise?
Not sure.
Okay. Another one. So when I speak to all different sports and I try and find out who is a role model, so to speak, within that sport. So Kim Brennan came to mind for me, having seen her compete over the time. From what, I don't actually know her personally myself, but what I've seen is not many people would train harder than what Kim does. Anyone know her? Can share that? Agreed? Yep. So again, it's being a high performance athlete is not rocket science. It's just knowing who you are and how you can get the best out of yourself. And to push yourself and trust that your coaches know what they're talking about and they know you, and when they're saying go harder, and your brain will automatically try and protect you and will tell you that you can't go harder before your body will actually collapse, so to speak. So Kim's a great example. She had a dual career along her pathway, so she studied a Bachelor of Media Communications, I think it was, and Communications and Law. She also gave back to her sport and continues to give back to the sport. So there was a couple of organisations which were probably resonated with her of how she wanted to give back to the sport. And also her interest in media. So lots of different things going on. And the things that I noticed too about her because I talk the person, is she has interest in movies and books. And if you went on her Facebook page, you see other aspects of her. So The Castle, for one, is one of her favourite movies. So I would encourage you to not be one-dimensional. Have lots of things that you enjoy doing, because rowing's such a physical activity, then a lot of the things that you like to do, you'll want to find that are outside of your sport that don't require a physical aspect to it. It's really hard to maintain that, particularly when you get in a high performance environment. So be interested in what you're studying. Be interested in playing a musical instrument if that's what you like to do. It's really important to have other things, because being at the high performance centre can be a really, really isolating and lonely place for a lot of people. Yes, it's a great place to be to bring out your best performance, but if you get that opportunity to go into that environment, you want to have other things that you can do in your downtime. Okay, the next one is having positive relationships. So this is having good people in your life. So having people that bring out the best in you or the best version of yourself. Can you think of a couple of people who you can go to no matter what? And you could tell them anything and they're not going to judge you. So they're the people that you're going to think about when I talk about positive relationships. That might be your coach, it might be a friend, a family member, whatever it may be, but having people, again, that bring out the best version of you. Like I've got kids, one of them, you know, she doesn't necessarily hang out with the person that brings out the best version of herself. Okay, so as a parent, you can kind of see that sometimes. Forgot it was live streaming, I'm going to be in the poo. Okay, and The next one is meaning. So having an understanding of why we do what we do. Most people I know, and I think every athlete that I've ever worked with, starts off doing what they do because they love it. And in preparing for this, I was listening to a podcast of Kim's, and because I don't know whether you know her story, she was high level in athletics and then received an injury and was told she'd never run again. She was seen at the VIS on the erg, and the rowing coach thought that she looked pretty good, and it just so happened it was around the time of the talent transfer, and they picked her up into the talent transfer program. And she said that it was like almost a death for her when she was told that she was no longer going to be able to run, and she had always had an aspiration to go to the Olympics as a 400 metre hurdler or whatever that might have been. And it wasn't until she got into the boat and she rediscovered that love and that passion and her why of why she was doing what she was doing. Because it's the competition, it's about being with people of a common goal as well. And it's almost like a community. You would know when you go into your respective boat sheds, and it's like coming home, and that's what you want to create around each other as well. Some of the questions that I've put on here, and which you can perhaps at some stage try and answer for yourself if you don't really know why you do what you do. Fun, of course, is an important factor, but there are a lot of other things. So I've put some questions up there about what kind of questions you can ask yourself if you need to discover why you're doing what you're doing. When I've spoken to parents with different groups, athletics and netball and so forth, because some people say, you know, does their child participate in the sport because I've made them do it? I'm yet to meet any child to train hard under duress of their parents, and you can call me out if you think they're wrong, but there has to be that intrinsic motivation within them. If they don't have it, they're not going to get there, okay? If your parents have to wake you up in the morning to get you down here, then maybe it's time to get an alarm clock, okay? Because you need to start being independent, self-reliant, self-directed, because they can't, whoever it is that might be helping you out can't get in the boat with you. And it's just about learning those skills to really be professional in your approach. Any questions so far? I'm trying to power through because I know we're running late. So again, back to Kim, she understood herself in that she performed best and got the best out of herself when she was doing other things outside of. Incredibly organised individual, incredibly organised. And again, this is one of the sheets that I work with my athletes, particularly those ones, sorry I'm walking around, who tell me that they don't have enough time. I never have enough time. And so I get them to plot out exactly what time they're doing what on a week. And they'll do this every week. And it's amazing how when you put it down, if you don't put it down already, most of anyone at school would you guys? Put it down at school, your timetable, or wherever do you do a timetable? Yeah. So you know your timetable, what's before and after, etc. But the thing that I've noticed as with technology is a lot of people are complaining that they don't have enough time, when in fact you have a conversation with them and ask them about how much social media they're doing. or I tend to stalk my athletes as well on Instagram or Snapchat, and they're spending an hour, 2 hours, whatever, on social. And you know yourself, you just flick up. I see my kids and it's just like this constantly, okay? Time can disappear. Setting limits on yourself about what you want to achieve, and it's easy to see gaps if you've planned out what you're going to do for the week. Also, another important factor is if you haven't set goals and don't know what you're doing, it's very hard to know when you're achieving or what you're achieving. So I also say to our athletes is, what's your dream? What's your aspiration? What's the pinnacle for you? Most times it's a gold medal or a world championship, okay, or medaling. It tends to be medaling, and I go, that's fantastic. Let's just put that up on the wall, because that will take care of itself if you take care of the process, okay? It might be an individual where they're a great athlete, but they're never going to get a gold medal, okay? But I will do everything with them or to empower them to reach their full potential. All the little things along the way, okay? And that's purely with the support of the coach and physiologists such as Anna over there. You know, it's everyone as a team working together. We're all pieces of this little jigsaw puzzle to help that individual get the best out of them. The way I do it is through setting SMART goals. Again, if you've been at school, you would have hopefully seen these. So this is how you set goals. You might have this massive, big, long-term goal up on the wall, but it's about the little goals that you're setting along the way. I also talk to them about, well, what are your physiology goals? Have you spoken to Anna about it? What about strength and conditioning? What do you do in the gym? Do you even know? Because we have so many that come along and they just get written a program, they go in like little minions and just go in, do their weights, no idea why they're doing them. So I go, ask those questions, empower yourself. Why are you doing this at a particular phase? Okay, yeah, I'm driving the strength and conditioning coaches and other staff probably crazy with getting all the athletes to ask all these questions, but I want them to take ownership, because if they take ownership and they're self-directed, then they will perform better. The final one is vitality, and that is about sleep and nutrition and the energy that we have. So on average, the probably 14-plus-year-old should still have about 9 hours sleep, 8 or 9 hours sleep a night. If you're not, go to bed earlier, okay? If you're not getting quality sleep, who can think about how you feel when you wake up on Christmas Day? Have a think. Close your eyes if you have to. Okay, do you bound out of bed? Well, I still do. I get excited. Okay, so think about how it feels. Think about, even if you can't, remember what it was like when you were a kid. Okay, yes, it's unrealistic to bound out of bed every day like that, but you shouldn't feel tired when you get out of bed. If you're feeling fatigued, then potentially you could be iron deficient, or you could something else going on, or you're purely not getting enough sleep for you. So a good way to test that is ask your parents and ask them how much sleep you tended to need when you were a little one, because it tends to come back in a cycle when you become probably in your teens to early 20s. You're still developing neurologically until you're about 26 apparently, and your creating pathways in your brain. You need sleep. Now, the number one problem that we have at the moment, who has their phone on their bedside table? Yep. Who perhaps just checks their emails or a quick look at messages before they go to sleep? Okay, I would encourage you, can't make you, I would encourage you to leave the phone out of your room. There's this great shop called Kmart, and they have these little alarm clocks, and they're like $7, maybe $5. They're so cheap. Get an alarm clock. That will wake you up. That will wake you up. Get the phones out of your room. Again, I can't make you, but I'm talking about what it takes to be a high performance elite athlete. It's up to you. Do you want to be that? That's great if you do. No one's going to make you, okay? But you need to get off your phone at least 30 minutes before you want to go to sleep. Now, much of the research that's coming out now is because it's affecting your ability to get into a very deep sleep, a REM cycle they call it. I've read one paper on the contrary, and I think it was probably sponsored by some mobile phone company, the research. So get off your phones as much as you can, particularly before bed, and particularly if you want to help those relationships. Is we have a rule in our house, no phones at the dinner table, okay? And we also have a phone policy, all phones in the one spot at 8 o'clock at night. It tends to go out to 8:30, but I know that if we have it at 8, then we're more likely to get rid of them by 8:30, and that includes us. And I can't tell you how hard it is not to check my emails. And quite often I do, because I've still got work stuff going on. But again, I'm going to bed a lot later than the kids too. But I know that I sleep better. Give it a try. Okay, the number one recovery is what, Anna? Yep. So it's not rocket science, it's just prepare yourself, get the best out of yourself, that's how you do it. Again, we have some awesome dietitians. So if I see an athlete and I say, have you seen Kylie? And they go, no, I go, come with me, and go over the corridor and say, such and such wants to meet with you, okay? Eating food with colour. Can we see the colour? So rainbows, not all browns, okay? Lots and lots of colour. Colour equals antioxidants that make your muscles recover. Any questions about nutrition? There's so many dietitians around, and I would say dietitians because they're qualified, not nutritionists, dietitian. There's heaps around that you can reach out to. Ask your coaches if you don't know one, or just look up who our dietitians are at the VIS, AIS, or any sports club. Now, the other little interesting thing, I'll just check the time, which I forgot to mention, is about, self-regulation. Anyone heard about self-regulation? Yes? One person. Woo! Okay, so there's been a fair bit of research in this area. You'll see this little model when you come around. And we'll get Jen to put it up on the web. I did have it on a slide, but I decided not to put it up because it's a bit hard to read. It's too small for the screen. High-performing athletes have a bit of a trait about them, or characteristics about them. And this is what we call high levels of self-regulation. So they plan out. Oh, well done, Noel. They plan out what they're going to do. They know what they're doing. They set goals. They set SMART goals along the way. Probably the best thing about this is they monitor themselves. So while we have, I'm going to use you again, Anna, that monitoring is really important. So I'm sure Anna drives a lot of our rowers crazy with put your data in Training Peaks. Put it in, put it in, put it in. Okay? There's actually a reason why we want this data, because it helps us, or helps Anna and Noel, for instance, to work out the plan for the future, to get the best out of you. Now, if you're got high levels of self-regulation, that won't be a chore because you know that's a benefit to you. And you'll start monitoring yourself. You actually have the capacity to reflect on your training sessions and what you did in them and how you felt. You have high levels of self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is how you see yourself. Okay? High-level performers have pretty good egos with them. Not surprising. They tend to. Okay? And I'm not saying that it's arrogance. It's just they know where they're at. And that's why they feel good about it. They know where they're going. They know what it's going to take to get there. If they are not on the right path to get there, then they will change that to better themselves. Always looking for continuous self-improvement. And effort, effort, effort. All about effort. Okay, and that's the effort and self-efficacy if you look around the sides. Lots of research. Google Scholar has enormous amounts on it. In this final one, so in summary, again, not rocket science of what I do, but it's just checking in with the athletes about all the different things that they need to do or how we can assist them at the Institute to achieve their best. And this model, for me, at the moment, works really well. Any questions about what I do or what high performance looks like?
I know you're talking about being like a well-rounded athlete, but if you're actually like really serious about trying to get as high as you can as soon as possible, should you be looking to scale back things like reducing the amount of work that you have to do, or like in terms of actual like work or study or whatever, so you can actually put in like more segments into your program?
Yeah. So the question is, do you need to scale back? I'm just saying it so the people can hear. Do you need to scale back uni or work or to become a well-balanced? It's a bit like a juggling act, and so there's particular times where uni or work can take precedence, and you might be doing a massive training load that doesn't require a lot of intensity, and so it depends how much rest you need, and that's also knowing yourself and what you need to do to recover. So most of our athletes only study part-time, but it's about doing something, and most of them will say it allows me to switch off and be somebody else or not have to think about rowing all day long. Now, fortunately for rowing, you have... Should I wait? Fortunately for rowing, you have a fabulous culture of studying and competing. It's encouraged, and there probably wouldn't be any coaches, am I right in saying, that would say, no, you've just got to purely train. I don't know any. Even Noel, and well, I shouldn't say even Noel, sorry Noel, but most coaches I know would encourage something else because they know that it gets the best out of them. if the athletes that I know that aren't doing stuff, and we've got, I think someone said last night at the VIS Awards, we've got 97% of our athletes doing something else outside of their sport. So it's a very small percentage that aren't doing something. How you do it is you get your shit together, okay? And you actually are organised. You are so organised that you know even down to when you're going to have a rest. So we've got one of our rowers who works. He's got a full-time job. They give him flexibility in terms of he can start earlier, finish earlier. Okay, he will literally ride in, go in, have something to eat, have a rest, go out to train. Okay, knows that he has to have a rest. So that's what he knows he has to do. So it's about knowing yourself and what you need to do, but ensuring that you've still got other stuff going on. It's kind of like simmering. And fortunately through the AIS, we have an elite athlete education network that allows, it's an agreement with the universities about flexibility with study options. If you travel overseas at some stage, we might get your coach or physiotherapist to sit the exam to invigilate you while you're sitting an exam. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go into uni to do things. A lot of stuff is online. Online study is very hard, very, very hard. You have to be very self-motivated to do it. But I encourage people to go into universities into uni or work or do something because they're meeting other people. You're talking to other people. You're not just in this little bubble of rowing or whatever sport it might be. Any other questions?
Any tips on how to keep the athletes focused during big championships?
Speak to a sports psychologist. I think preparation's the key, and I would say sports psychologists, they'll have a plan about how to switch on and switch off. I would say what you practice outside of, so specificity of practice is important. So train how you want to compete. And that includes most people, what they eat. So great thing about rowing is, there is so much competition that you have and time trials and etc, etc. So that is, use that practice time of competing against one another. Quality. Before you get down there, have you hydrated early in the day or the day before or the 2 days before? We've had hot weather. Who had a water bottle with them the whole time and were drinking? That's the sort of stuff that you need to do. Leave no stone unturned. Did I answer your question? Yep. It's past. Anyone else?
What are the biggest mistakes you see athletes make?
Solely focusing on one thing and being solely in the mode of, and I'll use rowing as an example, of just a rower. They can't see themselves as anything else. They're blindsided by their incapacity to look beyond. The reason why I say that is because I've done quite a bit of research at the other end of transitioning out of, and there's a number of things that we know that assist high performance athletes transitioning into normal life, so to speak, whatever normal is. One thing is their identity. They've got to have more than one identity about themselves. They've got to have a plan. So most people, you would say, day one when they come in, I'm talking about when they're going out. I do a timeline of their life right down to retirement, and I show them what the life cycle of careers is now. And it's 5 to 7 careers before you retire. Okay, it might be that you guys teachers? Teachers? No? Oh, kind of look teacherish. Sorry. Might be that you're a teacher, for instance, and the change of career might be within the teaching profession still. So that might mean deputy or head of department, sport director, whatever it might be. But there's still career changes, and we know that. There's careers now that we don't even know exist in the next few years. So what we do know about career in the next 10 years is there's a certain skill set that you will need. And it's emotional intelligence, and it's self-directed, and being able to work in groups and teams. Fundamental to the future of work. So that's what they're going to be looking at employing people on. So yeah, it's good to be studying and doing other things, but those other soft skills, so to speak, are really important too. Any other questions? I can't think of any other mistakes they make. Maybe not listening to their coaches. Trusting their coaches, know better. It's the reason why they're coach. Anything else? No? Well, I hope that I have given you some insight into my experiences and the work that I do with our elite athletes at the VIS. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Amy.